How's everyone doing? Here for another student spotlight for the SDR Whisperer. We got my absolute boy Scott here. Been crushing it since joining. Super excited to have this one-on-one with you, brother. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, so thanks for having me, Dylan. It's always good to connect and talk more than just in Slack. My name is Scott. I'm working at a financial media company. I'm selling a lot of ads and data when it comes to reaching and engaging retail investors. So my current position, I'm full cycle. From lead generation to closing deals. I manage all of it. I do a lot of project management as well. So not quite the typical biz dev rep. I've realized that I'm kind of a certified money maker in my position. Just do what you can to make some rev come up and take things from there. So yeah, it's been a cool journey. I originally studied in school to be pre-med, so making the transition to finance has been a lot of fun and not the typical journey, but it's where we are. It's been cool. Love the sales game. And I'm looking to grow from here. So that's just kind of quick word on who I am and what kind of things I'm working on.
Hell yeah, dude. I used to be a full cycle rep. This is your first time ever doing sales?
Yeah, so I did have I had a 2-month internship the summer prior to coming on full time, and then I kind of kept that internship alive with side projects that just needed doing, cleaning up some things that needed doing along the way, and then turned it into a full-time role. So this is my first real job out of college, and I'm absolutely loving it so far.
There you go. Yeah, it's doing full cycle kind of is truly throwing you into the lion's den, because you have to figure out two things at once and you don't have any time to learn one. So my biggest thing when I was a full cycle rep was the ebbs and flows of sales, right? So you spend a lot of time generating meetings, right? And doing prospecting and doing all your outreach and generating the actual conversations. And then once you do a really good job at that, now your calendar's full. You have less time and attention to put towards prospecting and reaching out. And then once you have those meetings, great. And then once those meetings kind of either close or not close, then you're like, oh shit, my calendar is now empty because I have no time to focus on lead generation. Have you found that to be the same issue?
Yeah, it's definitely a fun ride to, for a week be so intensive on building contacts, getting outreach out, getting campaigns live, and then I kind of totally forget about it for a couple of weeks because then I have to actually manage all the responses that come through. So over the last month, I've been definitely leaning a lot more on selling rather than outreach, which is a good problem to have. We actually just had a conversation internally about what campaigns are live right now, and I didn't really have much, but I've also been closing deals. So they're like, look, you're focusing on the right thing. Not having time to do outreach is a good problem to have, and it's kind of something I'm dealing with right now. So yeah, it's a lot of back and forth. It's a lot of weekly management of the things that I have to do, and you kind of just have to be willing to roll with the punches. Do what needs to be done, prioritize what needs to be done, and then after that, use the free time to catch up.
Absolutely. So have you always been really good with time management, time blocking, and making sure that you get things done in the amount of time that you kind of set forth to complete them in?
I mean, honestly, if I was here teaching a time management class, I would not be a qualified teacher. I'm definitely a dude that gets fixated and then just runs things through the finish line. So, having a task board of the things that need doing has been super helpful, because if I set 45 minutes on the calendar to do X, Y, Z, it's a coin flip if I get what I wanted to do done in that time frame. So I really just have to track the things that come up and then essentially sprint on tasks until they're done and then move on to the next one is kind of the way that I tackle it. Probably not the best system, but it's been working well for me. So I'm sure it'll get tightened up in the coming weeks and months, but that's kind of the way I'm operating right now.
Yeah. I need to write stuff down. I need to write stuff down and have it in a spot where I can see it consistently. So I bought a whiteboard desk so that the entire desk is a whiteboard. So
that's actually pretty sweet.
It seems to always be in my fucking hand because I'm always writing shit down. And Jake, He always, whenever he sees my head go down like this, he's like, "Oh, all right, something's going on the to-do list." So, and it's also super, it's super satisfying when you can just go like this to take a to-do list off and just swipe with the finger. I don't know what it is about it, but highly recommend it. So, you're crushing it. March was a really good month for you, from what you shared with us. How did you hear about us? Like, how did you come into contact with SDR Whisperer and myself?
So I believe, I'm not sure if it was on Twitter or TikTok, but I started seeing some of the short form content that you were producing on, hey, talk to your prospects in this way, or this is how you handle this objection. Like those sort of bite-sized pieces captured me, and I was like, okay, cool. He deserves a follow. This is good content. And then you started pitching your webinar that you were going to have a free webinar come up, and I was like, okay, well, if this guy's been putting out value in the videos, like I know that the webinar is going to be good. And then throughout the webinar, you kind of brought us through your little thing, and by the end of it, I was like, oh man, it's a case of like working in sales. I know when I'm being sold to, and
yeah,
when it's a really good pitch, and when it's like, oh man, this guy's got me so hard. So after it was really the short form content that kind of grabbed me, and then once I got like the full deep dive on the webinar, I knew that this was a good spot. I could sort of feel that this is definitely built and geared towards people that are just getting started as an SDR. But in my experience, I kind of just got thrown into this position. We're like a growing up startup, so there wasn't much onboarding, there wasn't much training. I got some pointers from the more senior people on staff, but I didn't have any system built out. When I was making cold calls, I didn't really have a script at all. I didn't even have a discovery section of my calls, so I knew that even though I was a little bit further ahead than some of the other people, that I would be able to get a lot of value from the content. And it's been like immediate night and day difference, right? Like I joined it late February. It took me a second to really dig into the content. But like you said, March was my best month at this job, period. It was my highest performing month. It was the first month that I actually was on pace to hit quota. And it was more revenue than I brought in January and February combined. So it's been great to get that immediate feedback. It's been great getting the shout outs internally, because it's a lot of like dad type employees that are around me, so they kind of see the new kid popping off and they're like, oh my god, this kid's a wizard. So it's been a great integration process. I'm so much more confident going into my calls because I know what things I'm trying to get out of the client that will ultimately lead them to buying from me. So I mean, the real difference is, oh my goodness, confidence is everything. So yeah, it's been great. Like just the immediate feedback was just ending the calls and more yeses and more clear budgets and more transparency on sort of the things that they need to do in order to buy. So, on every level, things have been great, whether it's the outreach, whether it's the way my LinkedIn is presented, whether it's the way I'm talking on calls. I've experienced upgrades on like every facet of my sales game.
Hell yeah, dude. And like a course can only take you so far, right? Like you had to have taken the knowledge and then actually implemented it, taken action on it, and then used the tools to build the house. And that's like, everything. You can invest in masterminds, you can go to retreats, you can pay for one-on-one mentorship, you can read 400 sales books, but like you really have to like implement it. And like you said, that you were seeing immediate results, and that's what kind of makes it stickier, right? Is actually because we teach with frameworks, and you can apply it to very high ticket, very high clientele work that you do, compared to some of our other students who work with like coaching programs. And I think like Ariane like sold like pool installations, like crazy weird stuff, but it's very applicable because it's just like the total frameworks of sales. But kudos to you for actually taking it from being in the red zone to punching in and not kicking a field goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've really resonated with the like teaching style you guys have of this frameworks rather than scripts, because if I've learned anything doing, high ticket B2B sales, is that people can sniff out your bullshit in a second. And if you're wasting their time, they're not on the call with you anymore. So being able to, apply consistent framework to all situations has really helped me learn how to sell rather than how to just spit out a script. And it's been super helpful for me because I'm not just selling one product to certain lists, like whether it's the data, whether it's the advertising, whether it's content, whether it's SEO help. I kind of sell it all. So being able to have a framework that applies to all of these different product lines and all these different clients, it's been great. It's been like a very holistic growing experience, and I know that it's only going to compound over time.
Absolutely. So like, what is the trajectory at this role? Like, are you going to be staying full cycle? Do you think that they're going to get you like the lead generation help and you become more of a sales closer? Or?
We will be having a lot of help. Summertime's coming, intern season is coming upon us, but I think that my role will remain relatively similar. There are more senior salespeople on the team that, they don't really do as much lead generation because they've built up their book of business. Now they're just kind of making calls and closing deals with friends. Yeah. As I build up my client list much more, I will be mostly in the relationship management, more of a AE role. But I look at the salespeople that are a year or 2 years ahead of me. They're still engaged in a lot of the nitty gritty work that I am. And it's just kind of part of, being at the company that I'm at. We do a lot. There's a lot of things that are leaned on as a salesperson, and I kind of view the role that I'm in more so as an entrepreneur, leveraging the tools that my company offers rather than just being a salesperson. So,
it's a good mindset.
Yeah, exactly. So it's cool that, I know that I have to do a lot of the, more medial tasks that maybe some other closers might not have to, but I feel like the experience that I'm getting is unmatched compared to any other sales role that I would be having, at least at this stage, given my current experience, being schooled in a different field, to be put in a position like this. Like I'm so grateful to be able to learn so much and really be put in an environment where like it's a bunch of heavy hitters that are looking to make money yesterday. It's cool. So it's been a huge learning curve to kind of learn everything at once. But after you eat garbage for 6 months, you're able to do things a lot more efficiently.
Absolutely, dude. And like you said, like the mindset of treating it like an entrepreneur, that's a really good mindset actually. Because like you taking full ownership. And like these are just tools that are provided by someone else I don't have to pay for, which is super nice. But the way in which you treat it, and like full cycle works really well because you keep that relationship from first contact to close. It's a much smoother process, and it creates more trust in the prospect and the buyer, because the handoff, as good as you can have a handoff, it always is two different human beings, right, having a relationship. So being able to take that from the beginning to the finish line is awesome. The downside is that you do two jobs. But it's great. And like for like your future, right, like being able to have both skill sets you'll be a killer in any sales role in any industry, knowing and doing what you're doing right now, which is really cool to see. But cool, dude. And if someone's watching this and they're your avatar and you're like, yo, Scott seems like a badass, I could definitely use the data that he sells, where can people find you, follow you, work with you, bro?
So I am a little inactive on socials. That actually is being strategized this week. You could find me on LinkedIn at Scott Rushlow. We'll be doing bi-weekly posts there very shortly. You can find me, my Instagram and socials. I'm Scott Rushlow everywhere. I've got a nice quick name, so it's like, all right, cool, I'm just going to run it. So Instagram, Twitter, relatively inactive. You can see me on my LinkedIn. I'll be posting all about market updates, opinions, things like that. Just the coolest things that are happening as things are going. But yeah, Scott Rushlow, SCOTTRUSHLOW. LinkedIn's probably the best spot. TikTok is loading. And then Twitter and Instagram are more in case you want to see what my family looks like and stuff like that.
There you go. Awesome, dude. Well, a testament to content. The reason why you are where you're at is because I've decided to put my face on the internet. So you never know what's going to happen if you put your face on the internet, right? Build trust with your audience. So excited to start seeing that content, brother. Thanks for hopping on, and we'll see you all in the next one.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having